Everyone, my name is Carla Gonzalez and I am in the Army Reserves. So I don't think it's a secret to anyone anymore. I kind of was hiding it for a little bit before I left, but before I left, I remember I made a post about it. Some of you may have seen it, some of you may have not. I made a few shorts, I think. And when I came back, I made a video and I made some more videos about my drill weekend experience. I just thought it was really cool. I always liked watching those videos before I went to basic training and when I was doing my research for it, and I thought it was just really cool to show my experience. And I actually had someone comment, "Hey, you should make a video about your basic training experience." And I figured, you know what? Yes, let's do that because I think it's really important to be well educated on the subject. It's not a you make the choice and then you can take it back whenever. It's something that you really should think about. So I want to share my experience. Now, disclaimer, disclaimer, disclaimer. Okay. It's not like a political video. This is not me telling you, oh my god, you should join the military propaganda. No. This is coming from someone who joined because she wanted to better herself, okay? Sharing my experience, my tips, my tricks, and you guys take what you want, leave the rest, okay? Let's not spread any hate because I know in this day and age, the military authority is very controversial, okay? That's my first thing. I'm not here to spill out any political beliefs. I'm not here to argue with anyone. I'm just here to talk about my experience and share some tips. Okay, so what led me to join the Army? I was a junior in high school. I knew I wanted to go to college. College was the one thing my parents always told me, you're going to do this. You will go to college. Okay, we did not do everything that we did for you. We did not sacrifice everything that we sacrificed for you to not go to college, right? So I was like, okay, I'm going to go to college. I want to do either architecture or like something engineering. I wasn't too sure, but I was really looking at architecture and or sorry about that if my boyfriend was interrupting me. He's in the background over there. Okay, so as I was saying, I was a junior in high school. You know, I was looking into architecture, civil engineering, electrical engineering, some of them, and I started looking into electrical engineering. I was very interested in the subject, and I saw the salary. I was like, well, oh, I'm really interested in the subject now. But anyway, I realized that college costs money. Oh my God, we live in a society. College costs a lot of money. And I was at a point where, like I said, I was really debating what I really wanted to study. And one of the things that I've always heard, no matter from who's teachers, um, even like my friends, older siblings and whatnot, or like their parents, they would always tell me, do not study something that you're not gonna fully commit to. You know what I'm saying? And I thought, well, I like electrical engineering. Don't get me wrong, I want to do it, but I'm not too sure about it. This was a big choice for me, and I decided, okay, I need time because I'm not gonna be able to make this choice in a year. Come sophomore year, I'm supposed to start applying for colleges. I don't know what to do. It's just not gonna work out. And then I started thinking about the money aspect, right? I started doing some college classes in high school. I was very fortunate to be able to do that. We had like a dual credit program in my school, so that was really cool. And I started looking into the school that I wanted to go to. It's a school that's like 30 minutes from my house, nothing too crazy. I could live with my parents. I was like, hey, this is really economically beneficial for me, whatever, very beneficial for me. And, has the programs that I like. It's a cool school, but it is a little expensive. And that's when I started looking into the Army because don't get me wrong, I am a smart student. I was top 10% of my class, 3.98 GPA. I had good grades. Don't get me wrong. However, there are people that are smarter than me, and I know that. As much as I know that I am smart, I know there's people that are smarter. I knew that I could get a scholarship, but I, for some reason, started looking into the Army. I was like, I need more time. Because to me, the idea of taking a gap year, I thought about that. I thought about taking a gap year, to really think about my options, maybe work a little bit, save some money. It just wasn't a choice for me. And I cannot tell you why. Because I remember I was talking to my school counselor or whatever. And I remember she told me most people don't take gap years because they don't end up going to school afterwards. And I was like, I'm not doing that. I'm not even going to put myself in the position to be able to do that. School is very important to me. I really value education. My family really values education. I'm not going to not go to school, right? But I was like, okay, but I need time. I don't know what to do. I don't want to go into a major at freaking 18 years old, not knowing if that's what I really want. That's one of the worst things you could do for yourself at such a young age. I'm not doing that. And on top of that, it's expensive. I started looking into the army. And at first, I was scared. I thought, oh my God, I'm not going to leave for 4 years, see God knows what, get killed out there. I've seen Private Ryan. And then I started finding out about the National Guard slash reserves. So I went to a recruiter's office and he told me, hey, I only do reserves slash active duty. That's how I ended up choosing reserves instead of National Guard. National Guard, honestly, I'm not going to get into the specifics about differences between reserves and National Guard. What it boils down to is basically one is funded by the state, one is funded by the federal government. That's basically the differences, or the main difference, if you will. And to me, that didn't really matter. That didn't really affect me. I didn't really think too much about it. Probably not the best idea, but I chose reserves. And I talked to my recruiter. I said, hey, I want to go to college. I'm really looking into this electrical engineering thing. And he said, well, we could put you as an interior electrician. And I was like, cool. That's some experience. Granted, it's not the exact same thing. I'm not going to sit here. If you're an electrical engineer watching this, I'm not going to sit here and say being an interior electrician is the same thing as being an electrical engineer. It is not the same thing at all. It is not the same thing. But I thought, well, let me have some experience. This could be fun. If I like it, cool. Then I get back and I study electrical engineering. If I don't like it, then cool. I don't study it. I didn't lose any money out of it, you know? So I joined. I I also saw that they give you money for up to 3 or 4 years. I think enough for a bachelor's degree. They give you a certain amount of money each year to go to school. And on top of that, with the FAFSA that I would be getting, I would have college all completely paid for, right? So I decided to join. And that was one of the most interesting choices I've ever made in my entire life simply because I had never had any, okay, any interest in the military other than watching movies. I always thought the military is not for me. I'm not made for this. I'm not, strong enough. I'm just not that kind of person. But when I joined out of necessity. And one day I hope that I'm 40 with kids, maybe they're going off to college and I hope they don't have to do what I did. So that's why I joined. Oh my god, such a long story. Let's get into the fun parts. I have a whole little, like, not outline, but I wrote down some points I want to talk about. Okay, so I enlisted December 2024. Okay, I remember the day that I raised my right hand and said the little oath. It was a weird feeling. I remember getting in the car because my recruiter drove me there and he drove me back to my house, or like to the recruiting station that was near my house. And it was such a weird feeling. I was like, wow, I really did this. And it was one of the most bittersweet feelings I've ever had because I had to, go through MEPS. I had to take the physical exam. I had to take the ASVAB, choose my MOS, all these cool things. And the stress of doing all of that, and then you finally enlist and get a ship date, it was so weird. Like, you wanted this, that feeling of, I'm gonna get shipped out on this day. You wanted that, but it's starting to feel real, right? Now, my experience is a little different because at the point that I enlisted, I was still in high school. I had one semester left. So I had around 7 months to like sit with my thoughts of I'm leaving on this day. A lot of people don't get that, especially if you're an adult. You can get a ship date pretty close, I believe. Depends. Don't take my word for that. But I've seen people enlist and they would leave in like a month. So it really just depends. But I had the lovely experience of sitting with the dread of leaving for around 7 months. So it was great. I loved the month leading up to me leaving was so crazy. I remember uploading so many videos because I didn't want this channel to die. I remember crying to my boyfriend. I was like, "Oh my god, like I'm so scared. How am I gonna do this?" It was so weird. But I'm really now looking back, it's funny. But I remember at the time it was a very I wasn't scared because I thought I was gonna get hurt. I was just scared because it's something I'd never done before. I was fresh out of high school, never been away from my parents. I grew up. I was a very sheltered kid. I didn't break the rules. I didn't sneak out of the house. I didn't do anything crazy like that. And I was scared of leaving. I was scared of what was going to happen to me. So, yeah. While I was waiting, I did what they call the Future Soldier Training Program. And this program is designed to kind of teach you, like, what it's like to be in the military. You basically do exercises, learn a little bit of, like, the ranks, what you can expect in basic training, how you should prepare before you leave to basic training. And if you complete it and do, like, an online portion, you get a rank up. So I started off as a fuzzy, which is an E1. That's what everyone starts off with, and then with that future soldier tra- with that future soldier training program, I moved up to an E2. And I honestly really liked that program because it made me feel a lot better of like what I needed to work on before leaving basic training. It's really scary to go into basic training not knowing anything. So I highly, highly recommend if you have a great recruiter, ask him, hey, do you guys do the future soldier training program? What can I do to prepare? Please do not go into basic training blind. That's my first tip. I'm gonna get into more tips later, but that's my first tip. If you can prepare before basic training, please, for the love of God, do. I promise you, it's worth it. Okay, so let's talk about the day that I shipped. I shipped around June. I'm not gonna say the exact day, just for I don't know. I'm scared to say certain things on the internet, especially about like my military experience. But I'm just gonna say I shipped in June 2025. I graduated maybe 3 weeks before. Those 3 weeks leading up were wow. But I shipped that day. I went on a plane. That was my first time ever going on a plane. I was really excited, but also very, very dreadful. Very dreadful. And I remember my plane was delayed. So the bus that I was supposed to take to go to reception, which is what you do before basic training, reception's like paperwork, getting your blood drawn, just making sure you're not a criminal or whatever, just last minute things, whatever. But the bus that I was supposed to take to reception, my flight got delayed and I missed it. So I had to stay at a hotel overnight, right? So I stayed at a hotel, then I went back to the airport and I waited there for like 9 hours until the nighttime again until the bus picked me up, right? And you would think, oh, well, how long was the bus ride? Like, was it like 20 minutes and then you got to the reception? No, 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 no. It was 3 hours. 3 hour bus ride. I waited 9 hours just to take a 3 hour bus ride to my reception. Anyway, so it was a lovely like 9 a.m. when we started when the bus got there, and it was like a probably 10 when we left. Okay, so you can imagine after 3 hours it was pretty late, and this is where we finally got to reception. Now at this point throughout the whole ride, I remember I called my mom on the bus because you could call your parents, like there was no drill sergeants or anything, but I called my mom and I remember I was like, I'm scared. I'm so nervous. And I promise you, they were more scared than I was. Like, I was a little girl. I'm the oldest, so they were really scared for me. And I remember telling them, I'm nervous. I don't know what's gonna happen. And they were like, try to sleep. Do you think I slept? No, I didn't. I did not close my eyes a single time while I was on the bus. It was the longest 3 hours of my entire life. Anyway, fun fact about me, right? I am terrified of Jeepers Creepers. Okay? I watched that movie when I was way too young. You'll see how this plays into it. But how do I say it? You don't even know what this movie's about, but just so you know, he's like a scarecrow, I guess, and he has this big black hat, right? And when he's in the dark and you see his shadow, you see this massive figure with a big hat, right? Okay, that's all you need to know. But that's a fun fact about me for anyone that cares. I hate that movie. I watched it when I was way too young. Will never watch it ever again. Oh my god. But anyway, after 3 hours, right? It's a lovely like 2 or 3 a.m. We get to the reception. There is one drill sergeant. Now I don't know if you know what drill sergeant hats look like, but they're big, they're pointy, right? And it was so dark, and he was just standing there in the middle of the road. Guess what he looked like? I almost pissed myself. I remember like any emotion that I felt up to that point of the last 7 months of sitting with the feeling of I'm gonna leave, and then this childhood memory unlocked, and then I'm finally get there. I'm tired, I'm saying bye to my family. I remember I saw this figure standing there. I remember I called my boyfriend. I was like, I love you so much. Like, oh, I'll call you whenever I can. Oh my god! And then we hung up, and then we got off the bus. Now, I will say my experience that first night of reception was probably much better than some other people's because we got there pretty late. So it was just like the one drill sergeant and then another one came out. It wasn't too bad, but yeah. Okay, so reception. Reception was interesting. So I might make another video about this, depending on if you guys would like that. But my reception was different because normally when you're going to basic, like if you're going straight to basic, you stay there for 2 to 3 days, 3 or 4, max, while you're getting your paperwork done, your blood work, getting your uniform stuff, all that good, right? All that great stuff. For me, I stayed there for almost 2 weeks. Now, the reason for this is because I was considered overweight. How much overweight? I was 4 pounds. Okay, I was 4 pounds overweight. Um, so they were gonna send me to the what was it? God, I forgot the official name for it, but basically it's like fat camp. You go there for like a month and you lose weight. They were gonna send me to that, but because I was literally only 4 pounds overweight, and if you look at me and I tell you how much I weigh, you'd be like, no, you don't. No, you don't. But anyway, they taped me, right? And they told me, hey, you don't need to go to this camp. Like, I promise you, whatever weight you have on, you're gonna lose it in basic. Like obviously. So my reception because of that was a little different. I did end up staying there for 2 weeks. And if you guys want me to talk about my experience with fat camp, or not necessarily going, but like what led me to there, and me talk about the online mic program, fat camp, just that kind of stuff, I will gladly make another video about that. I don't want to make this video too long, that's why. But reception was same thing every day. Honestly, the first 3 days are the worst. After that, it gets so much easier. One thing I always hear people saying is that reception is worse than basic training, and honestly, it is because all you do is basically wait faster. You're waiting to get your blood work done. You're waiting to get your dog tags. You're waiting to get your uniform. You're waiting. You're waiting to wait, right? You're waiting for dinner. You're waiting for breakfast. You're waiting for lunch. That's all reception is. And then you get shipped off to basic training. When I got shipped off, I was put on a bus. It was maybe 3 p.m. and then I got shipped off. Um, yeah, I got shipped off and I was able to call my mom. That first phone call, it wasn't my first time calling her because I had been in reception for 2 weeks, so I got a chance to call her. That's something about reception. If you're there for more than a certain amount of days, you get to call your parents, like on Sundays. But I called her, sent the information I was given on the piece of paper, all that good stuff. And honestly, basic was not bad. Basic was not bad. Granted, I did go to Fort Jackson and I am a 12 Romeo, which is a support MOS. I am not an infantry. I am not in, what's it called? Military police or anything like that. If you are in one of those combat MOSs, your basic training is going to look a lot more different. a lot different than mine. You're gonna have a harder MOS, you know. But as a support MOS going to Fort Jackson, it was pretty easy. I'm gonna be completely honest. It's coming from someone who is not the most physically person in the world. I run like a 9 minute and 35-second mile. I'm not athletic in any way, shape, or form. I'm trying, but I'm not. Honestly, the hardest thing about basic is just getting through it because basic is really, think of high school except worse somehow. Like anything that you've seen in high school movies, that's what basic is. Especially with the girls, we only had 5 restrooms and it was like 50 girls. We had 2 washers and it was like 50 girls. So many fights because of that. I will admit I didn't. I'm not gonna. I will admit I did get caught up in like one fight, not like a physical fight, but a little like verbal like, exchange. Nothing crazy. Don't worry, I didn't curse anyone out or anything. I'm not like that, but just like a little exchange of like, hey, washing clothes. The point is, basic training is easy as long as you just kind of keep quiet, keep to yourself, make good friends. I made some good friends. Shout out to the other Gonzalez. My last name is Gonzalez. He's one of the good friends I made. And shout out to Gaines. She's so cool. Y'all both was so cool. But make some good friends. I'm a really introverted person. I was able to make some friends. So that's how I know you can do it too. My biggest advice for basic training is just listen. Literally, they tell you what you need to do to be successful. If you just listen, I promise you, you'll be fine. I promise you, you will be fine if you just listen in basic training. All you have to do is get through it. Do the workouts. Don't be an idiot. Do the workouts. Show up on time. Don't be an idiot. Don't try to date people in basic training. Don't be an idiot. Don't be an idiot. Don't be an idiot. Don't be an idiot. That's literally the biggest piece of advice. And I promise you, if you ever go to basic training and you hear my words, do not be an idiot. And learn how to do a half right face. Biggest tip right there. So now from some tips, because honestly this video is getting way too long. I wrote down 5 tips, but honestly I think I've just said more throughout this video. My biggest tip is to get informed and get a good recruiter. One thing about the army, everyone hates recruiters, and I'm so sorry if my recruiter, if you're ever watching this, you're pretty great. But most recruiters are not. Most recruiters will try to screw you over because they're trying to meet a quota. They're trying to get their paycheck. They're not trying to help you out, okay? They will tell you you do not have certain benefits. They will not tell you what you are entitled to. They will not tell you there are other options. There is always another option, I promise you. Please do not be stupid. Get yourself a good recruiter. Get yourself informed. This is your life. This is not their life. They do not care about you, okay? Get yourself a good recruiter. Get yourself informed. You have benefits that you may not know about. There were so many things I did not know about. Like I said, my recruiter, you are great, but you did not tell me everything, okay? You sign that paper. You raise that right hand. You better inform yourself, right? I sound like a mom. Okay. My second tip is to try to rank up before you leave for basic training. Like I said, I did a future soldier training program. I can go more into depth with that, but it's nothing too crazy. Just try not to go in as a fuzzy, and a fuzzy is basically anyone. The reason I say that is because you get paid more. That's pretty much it. If you're a full time, that might need more because you'll be getting money every 2 weeks, like 1,000 every 2 weeks, which is pretty great. But even as a reservist, raise up that money, girl. Get your paycheck, get that bag. My third tip is do not spend all your money for the love of God. Look, now there are people here that might be joining the army when they're in their late 20s, 30s. They know the value of money, right? Most people who join are straight out of high school, young adults, and when they go to the basic training, that's the most amount of money they'll ever have. When you get your phone on Sunday, please, for the love of God, do not order shoes. Do not order a new phone and have it shipped to your house when you get home. What the frick? I knew so many people that did that. So many people. I'll be like, oh, how was your Sunday call with your family? Was it good? Did you like enjoy talking to me? Like, I ordered new shoes. For what? Girl, for what? I understand that some people have bills to pay. If you are someone who has bills to pay, I am not talking to you. I am talking to the people. You know who you are. You get paid a grand. You're like, oh, I'm gonna get myself the latest iPhone. I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna do that. No, stop being an idiot. For the love of God, stop being an idiot. If this is the most amount of money you're gonna have, put it towards something good. Get yourself a car, okay? A good car. Get yourself maybe a laptop for school. That's what I did. As soon as I got back, I got myself this laptop right here, this beauty. Use it for something good. Do not spend it on useless junk just because you feel like it. No, don't do that. Do not do that. Also, they will try to sell you stuff like memorabilia, 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 whatever the word. They will try to sell you that kind of stuff throughout basic, and you can put like your card information and whatnot. Do not buy that stuff. Please, for the love of God, do not buy that stuff. It's not worth it. It is not worth it. It was never worth it. I'm saying this as someone who bought some. I bought a necklace for my mom, and she loves it. She loves it, and I'm happy for that. But most of the stuff is not worth it. Do not buy it. Train before you go. Do not go in there thinking, oh my god, but it's basic training. We're not going to be doing anything crazy. Train before you go. I would say the biggest tip is to run. Now, I was smart enough that I kind of did do that. I didn't do it that well, but I did try to run before I left, try to practice that. Highly recommend it because you could tell who, like, never ran in their life, who never touched grass in their life, who never stretched in their life, and it's going to be painful for you. Okay, trust me, you don't want to be going to sick call every week, every day. Just don't. Okay, make this as painless as possible. Okay, get yourself informed, get yourself trained. Don't be stupid. Don't be greedy, guys. Just basic training can be one of the easiest things in the world if you just lock in. I hate that term, but just lock in. Okay, lock in. My fifth tip: find someone who will send you letters. Now, in the world of the digital age, where people are allowed to get their phone calls on Sundays, they might be changing that soon, so don't quote me on that. But when I went there with Sunday phone calls, a lot of people think, oh, I don't need letters. I don't care about letters as long as I get to call my parents or my family, my loved ones, whatever. Ask them to send you letters. If you're someone who maybe isn't privileged enough to have family who can send you letters or significant other, maybe find like a friend or something, who cares about find someone who cares about you to send you letters. I promise you, it means the world to you. I had my family send me letters. I had my boyfriend sending me letters whenever they could. They would send me maybe every other week, and usually my parents would send me one week, and my boyfriend would send me another week. It was really nice. Sometimes they would send me both on the same week. It just kind of depends, but it's a really really cool thing, and I promise you, it really lifts your spirits. You don't know how much you need that until maybe you had like a bad week. Maybe you had an argument with someone because of a stupid washing machine. Like, we're not gonna all smell dirty anyway. But you don't know how much you need that support until you're alone. You know, I highly suggest you find someone who will send you letters, who will write to you, who will truly stay connected with you, because I promise you, it really brings you together. I was never that, I was never like that kind of teenager. I was like, oh my god, I hate my parents. Like, my parents are so mean to me. My life sucks. And I was never like that. But when I started working, I when I started working and doing color guard and all that good stuff, and my parents were working and taking care of my siblings, we didn't talk as much as we used to. And after basic training, we actually got really, really close, especially with us sending letters back and forth. And it was a really nice feeling, getting back from that and just feeling really connected with my family and with my boyfriend. And honestly, really made our relationship stronger. This video has been way too long. There's honestly more that I really want to talk about. If you guys wanted me to make a video about like having a relationship while going to basic training, the fat loss slash online mic, what that might look like, or just even more tips talking about very specific aspects of basic training, please let me know. I would love to make more videos. I honestly love talking about this because it's really interesting. I always I never really thought I would be someone that goes to the military, and now here I am making videos about how I went to the military. My biggest tip is to just do what's best for you, you know? Be better than those who came before you. And that's it, guys. Bye.